"Sir, you need to leave," said the waitress. Luca Moretti didn't take orders from anyone. Not from men in suits. Not from politicians who pretended to be clean. Not from prosecutors who smiled for cameras and shook hands with devils behind closed doors. And definitely not from a waitress. Which is why, when she leaned in close to his shoulder and said in a low, steady voice, "Sir, you need to leave," his first reaction wasn't gratitude. It was anger. The private dining room on the top floor of La Verità was silent except for the quiet hum of the city outside the windows. Manhattan glittered below. 10:30 at night. The table was set with white linen, crystal documents, and a deal worth $200 million. $200 million wasn't pocket change. It was exit money. Luca sat at the head of the table in a tailored black suit, shoulders relaxed, expression unreadable, one hand resting on a folder full of contracts. He was 41, built like a man who'd been in real fights and won them, with sharp dark eyes that missed nothing, and a scar along his jaw that he'd never bothered to fix. Women stared at his mouth when he talked. Men watched his hands. To his right sat Ethan Blake, a clean-cut American executive with perfect teeth and a perfect watch. To his left sat Gabriel Russo, Luca's consigliere, older, calm, thick forearms crossed, listening to everything. Across from him, two men from private security and logistics integration. That was the polite name. Everyone in that room knew what the deal really was. This wasn't about buying a company. This was about making Luca Moretti untouchable. If this thing closed, his name would be tied to legitimate contracts, licensed personnel, registered routes, and publicly documented money. No more whispers of organized crime. No more back alley talk about where product moved and who allowed it. After tonight, everything would look legal. That was the point. Page 12, Ethan was saying, sliding the papers around. Payment structure executes in phases so nothing links directly back to you personally. It goes through the holding company first. Luca nodded once. He already knew page 12. He'd memorized every line. He'd waited years for this. He could feel it just there, in his chest. Not excitement, something rarer, something he didn't let himself want. An exit. "Sir?" The voice came again, softly, close to his ear. Luca didn't look up right away. Nobody interrupted him at the table. Not during numbers, not during signatures. "Not now," he muttered. The waitress didn't move. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and he felt the faintest brush of her hand at his shoulder. Not in a flirtatious way, not nervous, controlled. "But you need to stand up, right now." Gabriel's head lifted. Ethan frowned. "Can you give us a minute? We're in the middle of—" Luca finally turned, and that was the first moment he really saw her. She wore black like the rest of the staff, hair tied back, no jewelry except a simple black watch, not the cheap kind. Her name tag said, Emma. Her face was soft-featured, young, pretty, but not glitter pretty. Real pretty, clear skin, steady eyes. The kind of mouth that looked like it would say what needed to be said even if it hurt. Her eyes weren't calm, though. They were urgent, and her lips were tight like she was holding something back. "How old are you?" Luca asked. He always asked ages. He liked knowing who was in his rooms. 27, she said. Her voice didn't shake. "And who told you you could touch me?" "My name isn't Emma," she whispered. Gabriel straightened in his chair. Ethan let out a quiet laugh. "Is this some kind of service stunt? Because if this is about the bottle, we've already agreed on—" "Ethan," Luca said without looking at him. Just his name. Calm. Ethan closed his mouth. The woman, Emma, not Emma, took one breath, and Luca watched her do it. Deep, centering. Brave, not scared. She wasn't cute anymore. She was something else. "There's a warrant," she said under her breath. "It was signed at 9:18 p.m. It names you personally, not as Luca Moretti." "As Luca Giovanni Morelli, also known as Moretti. They're trying to classify you as a domestic terror financier, not racketeering, not extortion. Terror." Gabriel's jaw clenched. Luca didn't move. "Cute," he said. "They've tried that angle before." "No," she said. "They haven't." Her eyes flicked to his, then to the window, then back to him. "This isn't Rico," she continued quietly. "This isn't about organized crime. They're not calling you a criminal organization. They're calling you a threat to national safety, and you know what that means. You don't get to negotiate that. You don't get to sit in a courtroom with your lawyer in a nice suit. You get disappeared." Nobody at the table breathed. Ethan swallowed. "Okay, this is dramatic," he tried to joke. "This is getting a little movie." Gabriel didn't even glance at him. "Luca," he said low, "we should check." Luca kept his eyes on her. "How do you know this?" he asked. "And why am I only hearing it now?" "Because," she said, "the judge who signed the warrant is here in this deal." The room went cold. Even Ethan stopped pretending to smile. Luca leaned back a fraction of an inch. "Say that again." Her voice stayed low and even. She didn't blink. "She's not just approving the asset transfer," she said. "She's working with Dominic Vega. He gets your roots. She gets her headline. And you vanish under public safety emergency protocol. It'll look like you resisted. They'll say you drew first. There'll be footage, pre-edited. It's already set." The name hit the table like a gun. Dominic Vega. That was not business competition. That was filth. Vega wasn't old school. Vega wasn't disciplined. Vega didn't have rules about who got hurt. Vega didn't care if women or kids got caught in it. Vega was rot. Luca's face didn't change much, but his eyes did. Now they were dangerous. "You're going to stand up," she said softly, like she was asking, but she wasn't asking. "You're going to leave through the service hall, not the main corridor, and you're going to keep walking, and you're not going to argue with me or look back. If you stay in this room another 60 seconds, you don't leave this building alive." Ethan forced a laugh that sounded thin. "Okay, I'm sorry. Is this a threat? Is that what this is? Luca, you're going to let a waitress talk to you like that in front of—" "Ethan," Luca said again, still calm, still quiet. But this time his eyes didn't move from her. Ethan shut up. "Show me," Luca said. Her lashes flickered. "Show you what?" "Your hands." She didn't hesitate. She set the water bottle down and lifted both hands, palms up so he could see. No tremor, no sweat, no panic. And then he saw it. Tiny earpiece barely tucked behind her hairline. Not restaurant issue, not cheap. Luca's gaze flicked to the floor-to-ceiling window behind Ethan. The glass wasn't a mirror, but it still threw back a slice of the room at the right angle. He saw himself, Gabriel, Ethan, and above Ethan's shoulder, just for a heartbeat, a red dot slid across the reflection of the back wall. Not steady, searching, tracking. Luca's pulse didn't spike. His breathing didn't change. But something in his chest went cold and very, very clear, because she hadn't lied. There was a rifle on them. Inside the restaurant. On his meeting. On him. In his world, that wasn't how things were done. You didn't hit a man like Luca Moretti in public unless you didn't care if the whole city burned after. "Gabriel," Luca said quietly. "I see it," Gabriel answered. Ethan had gone pale. "What are you talking about? What are you—" "I don't see anything." "Of course you don't," Gabriel muttered. The waitress, Emma, not Emma, leaned in closer. Too close. If she'd been flirting, it would have been obvious. This wasn't that. This was urgent. "I can get you out clean," she said. "But I can't get all of you out if you argue with me. We're already slow." Luca slowly stood. Chairs scraped. Ethan jolted. Wait. You're just going to go? We have terms on the table. We're mid-signature." "Ethan," Luca said. That was all. Ethan froze. Luca buttoned his jacket, smooth and unhurried, and in that moment the air in the room shifted. Because this was the exact second everyone understood something was different. Luca wasn't treating her like a nobody anymore. He was treating her like someone who could walk over to his chair, touch his shoulder, and tell him to move. Nobody got to do that. No one. "What's your name?" he asked her. Her eyes flicked up to his again. She held his stare like nobody ever did. Most people dropped their gaze after 2 seconds with Luca. She didn't. My name is Amelia Carter, she said quietly. Not Emma. Luca's eyes narrowed. Who are you with? He asked. Who do you answer to? I'm not going to answer that in this room, she said. That wasn't the question I asked. Something passed between them in that second. Not soft, not sweet, sharp, alive. He was measuring her. She was measuring him back. Amelia took the smallest breath. I'm with you, she said. That was the first hit to his chest. It shouldn't have hit him at all. He didn't get hit. He didn't get moved. He did the moving. But it hit. He stepped in close enough that his body blocked her from the rest of the table. Close enough that he could lower his voice and no one else would hear. Close enough that she had to tilt her chin up to keep her eyes on his. You touch me again without permission, he murmured, and I'll put you on your knees for it. Her pulse kicked in her throat. Then, to his surprise, she said very softly, Then give me permission. Silence. Not fear, not attitude. Trust. Fast, reckless trust. Luca felt something dangerous and unwanted push through his control. He hadn't felt that in years. He didn't like it. He also didn't push it away. Move, he said. That was permission. Amelia's hand closed around his wrist. Not his hand, not his sleeve, his wrist, skin to skin, and that alone almost made Gabriel reach for his gun, because no one touched Luca there. But Luca let her. He let her. Look down, she whispered without moving her mouth. Not up. The camera above the door is live. He lowered his gaze like she told him. To anyone watching the feed, it would have looked like the Mafia boss was annoyed with a server. Nothing more. No urgency. No threat. Smart. Smart girl. She led him first, then Gabriel, then Ethan, out of the private dining room, past the wine wall, through the prep area where two kitchen staff politely pretended not to see anything, and into a service hallway that smelled like lemon cleaner and heat from the dishwashers. Nobody followed. The door clicked shut behind them. Only then did Luca speak again. Explain, he said. Amelia didn't slow. They were setting you up to look like an active terror financier, she said. They were going to leak that you'd bought private security infrastructure to coordinate violence on U.S. soil. That number on the table, 200 million? They were going to say it was operational money. It is operational money, Gabriel muttered. Not like that, she snapped, turning her head just enough to glare at him. Not the way they were going to package it. Gabriel stared at her. Watch your tone when you talk to... Gabriel, Luca said without looking back. Gabriel fell silent. They moved fast down the hallway. Amelia pushed through a heavy gray service door with her shoulder and they stepped into a narrow back corridor that led toward a steel exit. Why terror? Luca asked. His voice stayed low, calm, deadly steady. Amelia didn't turn. Because if they paint you as traditional organized crime, you get lawyers, you get press. You get to stand in front of a judge and breathe, she said. If they paint you as a terror financier, you don't get any of that. You disappear into a hole and you don't come out. No trial, no deal. They don't do that to people like me, Luca said. They were going to, she said. He watched the back of her neck when she said it. The way she said it. No wobble, no drama, just truth. She wasn't guessing. She knew. Who's they? Luca asked. Amelia finally stopped. They were 2 steps from the steel exit door. She turned and faced him in the dim light of the service hall, chest rising and falling fast now, adrenaline catching up to her body after forcing itself to stay level in the dining room. This close, he could really see her. Her eyes weren't just urgent. They were scared for him. For him. Nobody ever looked scared for Luca Moretti. Dominic Vega, she said. And a federal judge named Victoria Harding. She greenlit it. He funded it. Your name was supposed to be gone by midnight. Gabriel swore under his breath. Luca's jaw tightened. Harding, he repeated. She was in on this table. Yeah, Amelia said. Congratulations. You almost just signed for your own execution. Ethan finally found his voice from behind Gabriel. This is insane, okay? I'm sorry, but this is insane. I came here to finalize a security integration contract. I'm not involved in whatever this is. Luca, you know me. I've always respected you. I would never. Luca didn't even turn around. Gabriel, he said. Gabriel moved. He had Ethan against the concrete wall in less than a second, forearm across his throat. Not enough to crush. Just enough to quiet. Ethan choked. Luca! Shut up, Gabriel said. Luca stayed on Amelia. Say it again, he told her quietly. Slow. Her throat worked as she swallowed. Someone inside your own circle sold your meeting location and schedule tonight, she said. Vega paid for it. Harding covered it. They were going to say you were at that table planning violence on American soil. That's why you don't leave the building if I don't pull you first. You don't make it to the car. You get shot inside. On camera. They cut it to look like you drew first. Story writes itself. Luca stared at her. And you? He said. What happens to you after you pull me first? I get fired, she said simply. If I'm lucky. He blinked once. That answer did something to him he did not expect. Not the words. The way she said them. Flat. Accepting. Like she'd done the math hours ago and decided he was worth more than her job. Why? He asked. Her brow pulled in. What? Why? He said again. Why tell me? Why put your hands on me and drag me out of my own deal? Why make yourself my problem? Amelia let out a breath, like she couldn't believe she had to explain this to him. Because I didn't want to watch you die, she said. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't romantic. It was honest. Something low and hot coiled under Luca's sternum. He stepped in, close enough that her back brushed the cold cinder block wall. Not trapping, just filling her space, making sure she understood what standing this close to a man like him meant. You don't even know me, he said softly. Amelia lifted her chin. I know enough, she said. Do you? He asked. Tell me what you know. Her eyes didn't flinch. I know that you don't let anything touch civilians, she said. I know you keep your wars in the dark where normal people don't have to see it. I know you move money, yes, and yes, I know some of it is dirty, and I'm not pretending you're an angel. You're not. But I also know Dominic Vega doesn't have your rules. If Vega takes this city, women start disappearing. Kids get hurt. And from everything I've studied about you, her voice tightened. You don't let that happen. Silence. That silence wasn't empty. It was loud. Luca held her eyes for a long time. Longer than he'd ever allowed a stranger to look at him. Because that's what she was, technically, a stranger. So why didn't she feel like one? Behind them, Ethan made a choking sound under Gabriel's arm. Luca, Gabriel said low. We need to move. Luca didn't look away from her. You said your name is Amelia, he said. Yes. Amelia what? Amelia Carter. Amelia Carter, he repeated. He liked the way it sounded in his mouth. Clean, American, soft around the edges. It didn't match the way she'd just stood up to him. Here's what's going to happen, he said quietly. You're going to walk out that door ahead of me. You're going to get in the car. You're going to sit in the front passenger seat. Gabriel is going to sit behind you. I'm going to sit behind the driver. You're not going to run. You're not going to scream you're in danger. You're not going to pull anything stupid. Amelia stared at him. And if I say no? She asked. Luca leaned in, his mouth almost at her ear now, his voice dropping low and rough for her alone. Then I pick you up, he said, and you're still coming with me. Her breath caught. Not fear. Heat. He felt it. He knew she felt it too. Is that a threat? She whispered. No, Luca said. That's protection. Her lips parted. For a second there was nothing in that hallway except her heartbeat and his. Then Amelia nodded once. Okay, she said quietly. Luca's hand came up. He touched her jaw with his thumb just once. Slow, careful, like she was something breakable, and he was not letting her break. Nobody saw him do that except her. Good girl, he murmured. Her knees almost failed. He felt that too. He pulled back first. Gabriel, he said. Gabriel released Ethan and shoved him toward the exit. Move. Ethan stumbled, coughing. Are you kidnapping a federal witness right now? Do you have any idea what kind of charges? Luca didn't even spare him a glance. Ethan, he said for the last time that night. Ethan shut his mouth. Amelia pushed open the steel door and cold night air rushed in. You could hear distant traffic, sirens somewhere far off, New York still alive and loud outside. She paused in the doorway, then glanced over her shoulder at Luca. We're not safe yet, she warned him. They're not going to stop just because you walked out. Luca stepped up behind her, big and solid and certain, like a shield. His breath touched the side of her neck. We're safer than we were 5 minutes ago, he said, then, lower, for her and only her. And from now on, Amelia Carter, you don't walk anywhere without me. She swallowed. Is that an order? She whispered. It's a promise, he said. They stepped out into the night together, and that was the moment her life stopped belonging to the badge, and his life stopped belonging only to himself. The car engine purred like a wild animal waiting for orders. Amelia's hands were steady on the steering wheel, even as the Manhattan skyline blurred past her window. Her pulse, however, was a different story, loud in her ears, thrumming under her skin. In the back seat sat Luca Moretti, silent, watching. Not one word since they'd left the alley. Gabriel was next to him, gun across his lap, eyes scanning every car behind them. Ethan Blake sat rigid in the passenger seat, hands trembling on his knees, like he'd just realized he was living through something the news would never fully report. Amelia turned onto the FDR. Take the Williamsburg exit, Luca said suddenly, his voice deep, quiet, commanding. She glanced at the mirror. Why? Because if they're following us, we'll know by the bridge. Fine, she muttered, signaling left. But next time, say please. That made Gabriel huff a laugh, a dangerous one. Sweetheart, he said, the boss doesn't do please. Maybe he should start, she replied. The world would spin a little smoother. That earned her silence again, but this time not cold silence, heavy silence, interested silence. Luca studied her reflection, the sharp line of her jaw, the hair escaping her bun, the calm way she handled the car like she'd done it 100 times. Most people babbled around him, trying to impress or apologize. She didn't. Who trained you? He asked finally. Amelia hesitated. My father. He was military. Was. He died, she said simply. Luca's eyes lowered. In service? Yeah, she said softly. Yours? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The scar along his jaw told its own story. They crossed the bridge. Amelia checked the mirror again. 3 cars followed. When she changed lanes twice, 2 adjusted with her. They're on us, she said. Luca leaned forward, left at the next exit, cut through Kent Avenue. There's a garage 2 blocks down, 3rd door on the right. Park inside, leave the lights off. You giving me orders again? Giving you life expectancy, he said. Amelia didn't argue. She drove. The tires screeched as she pulled into the narrow garage. The steel door rattled shut behind them, cutting off the noise of the city. Dim light flickered from a single bulb overhead. Ethan exhaled shakily. Okay, someone tell me what the hell just happened. Luca ignored him. He looked at Amelia. They followed us. You still think you're the one running this operation? I'm keeping you alive, she said, turning to face him. He smiled faintly. You think I need your help? She stepped closer, refusing to back down. I think you'd be dead without me. Gabriel looked between them, unsure whether to laugh or leave. The air between the two was thick, not just tension, but something unspoken underneath it. Luca's tone dropped. You're brave, I'll give you that. Not brave, she said quietly. Just tired of watching powerful men die for the wrong reasons. That made him pause. For a man like Luca Moretti, silence meant more than any confession. Who are you really working for, Amelia? He asked. You said there's a warrant. You said they're calling me a terrorist. So who are you? FBI? DEA? CIA? None of the above, she said. Technically, I was seconded from Homeland Security, Task Force for Financial Crime Coordination. Was? They disbanded the team last month, she said, because I wouldn't play along. Along with what? The plan to take you down. Luca tilted his head, studying her face. And why tell me? She looked at him, eyes sharp, tired, sincere. Because I saw your name on the file, and I saw the trap. It wasn't justice, Luca. It was revenge, against everyone with power they can't control. He didn't blink. And you risked your life for that? I risked my job, she corrected. My life just came with it. Gabriel shifted his weight, checking his weapon again. Boss, we can't stay here. I know, Luca said, still looking at her. But before we move, she talks. Amelia crossed her arms. Talk about what? About what you really want. She met his gaze without flinching. I want Dominic Vega in handcuffs. I want Victoria Harding exposed. And I want you alive long enough to help me do it. Luca leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. You think I'm your ally. I think you're not the monster they made you out to be, she said. And that's enough for now. He looked up at her, eyes dark and unreadable. You think I'm the bad guy. I think you were built to survive a bad world, she said softly. The words hung there, real, quiet, electric. A loud bang cut through the air, gunfire outside. Gabriel spun toward the door. They found us. Amelia's hand went for her gun. Luca was faster. He pulled her against his chest, shielding her as the back door blew open. Shattered light spilled in. Stay behind me, he ordered. I can shoot. Behind me, Amelia. The way he said her name made her freeze. Not because of fear, because of how it sounded in his mouth. Protective, possessive, final. Two men burst in through the door. Luca fired twice. One went down instantly. Gabriel handled the other. Silence followed, broken only by Amelia's heartbeat hammering against him. He still held her. Her hands rested against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm under her palms. When he finally looked down at her, his eyes softened just slightly. You all right? She nodded, whispering. You could have been hit. He smirked faintly. Would have ruined the suit. She laughed despite herself, breathless and shaken. But in that moment, the war between them shifted. It wasn't about sides anymore. It was survival. Trust. Something dangerously close to connection. Luca brushed a strand of hair from her face. You follow my lead now, he said quietly. I thought I was the one saving you. You were, he murmured. Now it's my turn. Their eyes held. Too long, too deep, too much. And somewhere behind the sirens and the smoke, Amelia realized she wasn't sure who she was saving anymore. The safe house was quiet, except for the sound of the rain against the windows. Amelia hadn't said a word since they left the garage. She moved through the small apartment with automatic precision, checking doors, unplugging lamps, covering windows with dark cloth. Luca watched her. There was no trace of fear in her movements, only purpose. The woman he'd met 2 hours ago as a waitress was gone. What stood before him now was something entirely different. She reached for a metal case under the bed, unlocked it, and began assembling a weapon. You keep a gun in every city? Luca asked. Amelia didn't look up. Every safe house. He almost smiled. Remind me never to surprise you uninvited. You shouldn't be here at all, she said, finally meeting his eyes. If they trace this place, we're done. Luca leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets. If they trace this place, you'll know before they do. Her gaze lingered on him longer than it should have. He wasn't just confident, he was steady, like the chaos outside couldn't touch him. But she'd seen men like that before, untouchable, dangerous, impossible to read. And yet this one felt different. She tried to focus. We'll move in an hour. I'll need access to your phone. It might be compromised. He took a slow step forward. You think I'm stupid enough to carry my own? She hesitated. Then why did you let me drive your car? Luca stopped a breath away from her. Because I wanted to see if you'd run. Her pulse skipped. And if I had? I'd have found you, he said, quiet but certain, before anyone else did. Amelia exhaled and moved past him, ignoring the heat that rose under her skin. You're not exactly easy to protect, you know that. Good, he murmured. I'm not supposed to be. Before she could answer, a low beep echoed from her phone. A red light flashed once, twice. Amelia froze. They found the signal. How? Someone fed them our exit route. She didn't have time to say more. The window shattered. Down! Luca shouted, grabbing her and pulling her to the floor as glass rained around them. Bullets hit the wall above. She reached for her gun, but he was already in front of her, his body shielding hers, his arm around her shoulders, holding her against him. Stay behind me, he ordered. I can. Behind me. The words left no room for argument. He fired once through the broken window. A cry from outside confirmed his aim. Gabriel burst through the back door, weapon drawn. 2 shooters, boss, maybe 3. Take the left side, Luca barked. They're trying to flush us out. Amelia crawled to the wall, checking the angle. If we move to the kitchen, we can... Stop thinking like an agent, Luca snapped. They're not playing by your rule book. And you are? He glanced over his shoulder, a flash of something fierce in his eyes. My rule is simple. No one touches you. The tone, dark, possessive, made her throat tighten. He reloaded smoothly, movements sharp and controlled. No wasted motion, no panic. Every time a shot cracked outside, he adjusted, pushing her closer to safety. When the noise finally died, Luca signaled to Gabriel. Clear it. Gabriel disappeared into the alley. Silence fell again, except for the rain. Luca turned to her, breathing hard, shirt torn at the shoulder from flying glass. You hurt? She shook her head. You're bleeding. It's nothing. She stepped closer anyway. Let me see. He didn't move as she reached for him, fingers brushing the cut on his arm. The skin was warm, rough, steady. She pressed a towel against it. You should have let me handle it, she whispered. I did, he said. You're still breathing. She looked up at him. He was too close, too calm. The adrenaline between them was thick enough to touch. Thank you, she murmured. He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping low. Don't thank me yet. Why not? Because next time I'm not letting them get that close. For a moment, neither spoke. Rain dripped from the cracked window. Their breaths mingled in the quiet. Then Gabriel returned, shaking his head. They're gone. 2 dead. 1 escaped. Luca's jaw tightened. He'll run straight to Vega. Amelia stepped back. Then they'll know we're together. He gave her a long look. Let them. That's suicide. No, he said. That's strategy. She stared at him, frustration and awe mixing in her chest. You really don't fear anything, do you? Luca took a slow step closer. You're wrong. What do you fear then? He looked straight into her eyes. Losing control. The words hit her harder than any bullet, because in that moment she wasn't sure if he was talking about the fight, or about her. The storm had followed them all the way to Brooklyn. Thunder rolled above the river as Luca's black SUV turned into a narrow street lit by the faint orange glow of warehouse lights. Amelia sat beside him, arms crossed, still feeling the echo of the gunfire that had shredded the night an hour ago. Her hair was damp from rain, and a small cut on her cheek caught the reflection of passing headlights. She'd insisted on sitting in the front seat, closer to the exit if things went bad again. Luca hadn't argued. He only watched her in silence, one hand on the wheel, the other resting against the gear shift, his thumb tapping once every few seconds in the rhythm of a man thinking far too much. They stopped in front of a massive metal gate. 2 men stepped out of the shadows, Moretti soldiers, faces hard, suits dark and wet. They carried rifles under their jackets, not bothering to hide them. Boss? One greeted, eyes flicking to Amelia. We weren't expecting... Luca's look was enough to shut him up. Open it. The gate rattled upward, revealing the hidden world behind. A converted shipping warehouse that served as one of Luca's private operations hubs. Inside, it looked more like a luxury fortress than a criminal den. Polished floors, glass walls, security screens glowing blue. Every person who worked here owed their life to Luca Moretti, and every one of them stared when they saw the woman walking beside him. Amelia felt their eyes. She kept her chin high, but she could feel the tension ripple through the room like static electricity. Soldiers whispered, secretaries pretended to type. No one spoke directly, no one dared. Gabriel appeared from the side hallway. "We've doubled security, boss. The perimeter's tight. No leaks so far." "Good," Luca said, handing him his coat. His shirt beneath was still torn from the fight, the blood on his sleeve darker now, almost black. Gabriel's gaze flicked to Amelia. "You sure about bringing her here?" Amelia answered first. "You have a problem with that?" Gabriel's brow lifted. "Plenty, starting with the fact that I don't know your last name, sweetheart." Before she could reply, Luca stepped between them, calm, deliberate, the quiet kind of fury that froze the air. "You don't talk to her," he said softly. Gabriel blinked. "Boss?" "You don't talk to her," Luca repeated. "You don't even look at her unless she looks at you first. She's under my protection." The room went dead silent. Every man there understood what that meant. In the Moretti world, under my protection was sacred. It wasn't lust. It wasn't charity. It was ownership of safety. Anyone who broke that boundary didn't live to apologize. Amelia's breath caught. She hadn't asked for that kind of protection. But hearing it, seeing the way everyone reacted, like he'd just drawn a line around her in blood, made something deep in her chest twist in ways she didn't expect. Luca turned back to her, tone soft again. "Come upstairs." She followed him through the hallway to a glass-walled office that overlooked the floor below. The lights of Manhattan glimmered through the rain outside. He closed the door behind them, shutting out the whispers. Amelia stayed near the window. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," he said, taking off his holster and setting it on the desk. "You walk into my world. You get my rules. And rule 1 is simple. No one touches what's mine." Her pulse jumped. "What's yours?" she repeated quietly. Luca looked up from the desk. "You're here because you saved my life. That makes you my responsibility." She folded her arms. "You're twisting gratitude into ownership." He stepped closer. "I'm turning gratitude into protection. There's a difference." She should have argued. Instead, she looked at him, at the exhaustion hiding beneath the sharp suit, at the scar that cut across his jaw, at the faint tremor in his hand when he finally relaxed. He'd just taken bullets for her, and now he was guarding her from his own men. "You really think I need you to protect me?" she asked. "I know you do," he said simply. "Maybe not from bullets, but from people who'd use you to get to me." Her breath hitched. He was right, and they both knew it. They stood close enough now that the air felt heavy between them. Neither moved. The tension that had been simmering since the restaurant burned hotter than either of them intended. Luca broke it first. "You're shaking." "I'm not." He reached out, catching her wrist. His thumb brushed over her pulse, fast, uneven. "You are." She wanted to pull away. She didn't. He released her slowly, as if every movement had weight. "Get some rest. The guest room's at the end of the hall." "I'll stay here," she said, closer to the exit. He almost smiled. "You think I'd let you near a door without guards? You think I trust your guards?" He laughed softly, an unfamiliar sound, deep and quiet. "Fair." She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her at the door. "Amelia." She looked back. "You did good tonight," he said. "Most people would have broken. I'm not most people." "No," he agreed. "You're not." She didn't sleep. Neither did he. Downstairs, Gabriel handled security briefings while Luca sat at his desk, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. He replayed the night in his mind, the laser on the glass, her voice saying, "Stand up," the feel of her hand on his wrist. The more he thought about it, the more he realized something dangerous. He trusted her. That was a problem. "Boss," Gabriel said from the door, "we caught one of the shooters alive." Luca's head lifted. "Bring him." They dragged the man in, bloodied, bound, eyes full of panic. Rain dripped from his hair onto the expensive carpet. "Who sent you?" Luca asked. The man hesitated. "Vega." Luca's jaw flexed. "And who told Vega where we were meeting?" "I don't know. I swear. We just got the address from someone inside. Someone close to you." That word, inside, hit like a blade. Gabriel's eyes darkened. "You saying there's a rat?" The shooter swallowed. He said the boss wouldn't see it coming. That he'd be too busy with some woman to notice. Luca's blood went cold. He didn't move, but the room felt heavier. "Kill him," he said quietly. Gabriel didn't hesitate. The gunshot was muffled by the thunder outside. Amelia appeared at the doorway seconds later, pale but calm. "Was that necessary?" "Yes," Luca said. He talked. "I heard." She stepped into the room, meeting his eyes. "So there's a leak." "There's always a leak," he said. "The trick is finding which pipe." Her jaw tightened. "They used me to distract you." That's what he meant. Luca's eyes narrowed. "No, they tried to use you. There's a difference." She shook her head. "I'm putting you at risk. You're alive because of me," he interrupted softly. "And I'm alive because of you. That makes us even." Amelia stared at him. "You don't believe in even." He smiled faintly. "No, I believe in loyalty." She moved closer, unable to stop herself. "And what happens when your loyalty and mine don't match?" He stepped in until their breath mingled. "Then we find out which one of us breaks first." Lightning flashed outside, painting their faces in white and gold. His hand came up, fingertips grazing her cheek, tracing the cut from the broken glass. Her heart beat so loud she thought he could hear it. "Does it hurt?" he asked. "A little." He leaned closer. "Good. Means you're alive." She swallowed hard. "You shouldn't touch me." He smiled without warmth. "Probably." And then he did it again anyway, his thumb brushing her skin, slower this time, deliberate. Her breath trembled. "Go to bed, Amelia," he murmured. "I can't sleep." "Then stay close to me," he said. "At least you'll be safe." Her eyes met his. "And if I'm not?" His voice dropped lower. "Then anyone who tries will wish they hadn't." There was nothing playful in his tone, nothing uncertain. It was a vow, a dark, quiet, irrevocable vow. She turned away before she forgot how to breathe. An hour later, Luca was still awake when Gabriel returned with new intel. "Vega's moving," he said. "Word is he's meeting Judge Harding tomorrow morning. He's pushing her to issue an arrest order." "For me?" Luca asked. "For her," Gabriel said, nodding toward the hall where Amelia slept. "They know she switched sides." Luca's eyes hardened. "If anyone touches her, they pay." Gabriel studied him. "Boss, this isn't business anymore, is it?" Luca looked toward the dark hallway. He could almost hear her breathing in the next room. "No," he said quietly. "It's personal." And for the first time in his life, that didn't scare him. Amelia woke up with a hand over her mouth. Not rough, not violent, firm. Her eyes shot open and she was already reaching for the gun under the pillow when she saw who it was. "Luca." "Easy," he whispered. "It's me." Her body let go of the fight all at once. She hadn't even realized how tense she'd fallen asleep. He was close enough for her to see the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw, to smell the warmth of his skin and the clean, dark cologne that still lingered on his collar. She didn't know what time it was. She just knew it was still night. He pulled his hand back and rested it against the mattress by her shoulder, caging her in without touching her again. Protective, not trapping. Always that line with him. "What happened?" she whispered. "They tried to get in," he said quietly. "They didn't make it past the first door." Her stomach dropped. "They came here? For you?" His eyes stayed on her. "No." The word landed heavy. She pushed herself upright. "You're sure?" "I don't guess with things like this," he said. Her throat felt tight. "So they're not just trying to take you out anymore. They're trying to take me." "They're trying to erase you," he corrected softly. "There's a difference." She stared at him. You erase witnesses. You erase proof. You don't erase someone unless they scare you. For the first time since the restaurant, since the whispered, "Sir, you need to leave," Amelia felt it in full. This wasn't her job anymore. This wasn't about a case or a leak or whether she would get in trouble. This was survival. "Why didn't you tell me right away?" she asked. "I was going to," he said. "Then I opened your door and you were sleeping." She blinked. "Your point?" "You don't sleep," he said quietly. "You doze in chairs with a gun in your hand and one eye open. You crash in safe houses like you're waiting for the wall to come down. You don't actually sleep." That shouldn't have hit her the way it did, but it did. "So I let you have an hour," he finished. She didn't know what to do with that. Agents didn't get watched over. Agents watched. You were useful until you weren't. And if you weren't, they replaced you before the coffee got cold. He'd guarded her sleep. No one had done that in a long time. "Luca," she murmured, and stopped, because she didn't even know what she was about to say. He sat on the edge of the bed, close enough that his leg brushed the blanket over hers. The rain had stopped. The city felt hushed. It almost felt like the world outside had paused, waiting to see what he would do next. "I need you to understand something," he said. Her chest tightened. His tone had changed. This wasn't the Luca she'd seen at the restaurant table or in the car or behind a gun. This was something stripped down and sharp. Luca when it was just him. No eyes. No performance. "You're not a liability to me," he said. That threw her. "That's not true." "It is," he said. "Gabriel thinks you are, because you're from the other side. Vega thinks you are, because you opened your mouth. Harding thinks you are, because you won't play along. But me?" He shook his head once. "No." "Luca, you didn't slow me down," he said quietly. "You made me faster." Her heart started pounding. That should not have mattered so much, but it did. He kept his gaze on her face like he was memorizing it. Not the way men stare when they're imagining a body. The way someone looks at something they already consider theirs and is trying to figure out how to keep it safe without breaking it. "You got between me and a bullet before you even knew me," he said. "You looked me in the face and told me to stand up when every other person in that room would have let me sign and die for it. You dragged me out of something I didn't see coming, and you did it knowing it would put a mark on you." He leaned in closer, voice dropping until she almost felt it more than heard it. "Don't ever call that a liability again." Her lips parted. She didn't breathe for a second, because underneath what he said was the part he didn't say. "You matter to me now." "I didn't do it for you," she tried quietly. "Not just for you. I did it because what they were doing, what Vega and Harding were building, that's not law. That's not justice. That's just power dressed up like justice. Doesn't matter why," he said. "You did it, and nobody has ever done that for me before." That stunned her. "No one?" she asked, voice barely there. He shook his head once. "No one in my world warns me before the bullet. They warn me after. They show up at the hospital bed like flowers fix a hole in your chest. You were the first one who tried to stop it from happening at all." Amelia stared at him. There was a pressure building just behind her ribs, something hot and tight that she didn't let herself feel when she was undercover. Attachment got you killed. Dependency got you used. Feelings got you burned. "This is why they're going after you instead of me," he said. Her brow pulled in. "What?" "They can't get to me clean. People expect blood around me. They frame me for something. I fight back. It looks like a war. But you..." His jaw flexed. "You're neat to erase. You're quiet. You're still technically one of theirs. If you vanish tonight, they write one sentence in a report in language nobody reads and move on. There's no headline. There's no fire. That's why they want you off the board." Amelia swallowed. "So this is my fault. I stepped into it. I lit it." "No," he said, and his voice went low and dangerous. "This is not your fault. This is my fault." Her chest went tight. "No, don't do that." "I brought you close," he said. "Closer than anyone outside my blood. I put your name in the same sentence as mine. I made you a target. She shook her head. Luca. His hand came up. He didn't touch her mouth. He touched her jaw. Gentle, warm, thumb against the hinge where her pulse was jumping. Listen to me, he said. Her breath caught. When someone touches something that's mine, he said quietly, they don't get a second chance. Her eyes searched his. I'm not yours. He smiled a little, and God, that smile. It wasn't mocking. It wasn't cocky. It was something softer she hadn't seen on him before, something almost private. Then walk out that door, he said. Her stomach flipped. What? She breathed. He nodded toward the bedroom doorway. Right now. No one will stop you. You can walk out, take the stairs, leave through the loading bay. Gabriel will look the other way. My guys won't follow. I won't send anybody after you. You can disappear before sunrise and pretend tonight never happened. If you're not mine, walk. Her mouth went dry. She didn't move. Seconds passed. Her chest rose and fell. She kept her eyes on his, every muscle in her body wired and shaking and alive. Yeah, he said softly. That's what I thought. She hated how much heat that sent up her spine. Don't play me like that, she whispered. I'm not playing, he said. Luca. He leaned in again, closer, close enough that she felt his breath, warm against her cheek, close enough that she could see the tiny lines at the edges of his eyes, the kind that only show up on men who've seen too much and didn't look away anyway. You think I don't know what I'm saying, he murmured. But I do. Her hands were shaking now. She curled them in the blanket to hide it. Do you know, he asked, what I did when they told me they tried to get you out of this room tonight? She blinked. What? I put a man against a wall, he said quietly. One of mine, one I've trusted for years. And I told him, if he so much as says your name outside this building without my permission, I'll put him in the ground myself. You know why that matters? Her voice was barely there. Why? Because I've never said that about anyone, he said. Not family, not blood, not anyone I've ever had in my bed. No one. Her heart slammed. And I meant it, he added. I mean it right now. I mean it tomorrow morning. I'll mean it next week. Her throat felt tight, almost painful. You can't just say things like that to me. Yes, he said. I can. Luca, because it's already true. Her chest ached. She didn't have a shield for that. She could handle gunfire. She could handle surveillance. She could handle pretending to be a waitress in a $5,000 room full of men who would have watched her die without blinking. She didn't know how to handle a man looking at her like she was not replaceable. Why? She whispered. Why me? He exhaled, slow. You're asking the wrong question. What's the right one? Why now? He said. Her brows pulled in. Okay, fine. Why now? Because, he said, I've done a lot of things I can't undo. And I've never regretted them. Not really. You don't get to stay alive at my level if you waste time feeling bad about every broken bone and every dollar that moved where it shouldn't. He paused, and his eyes went darker, softer, honest. But tonight, for the first time in years, I thought about regret, he said. Her breath stuttered. When I heard the first door go, he said, voice low, steady, and Gabriel yelled that they were here for you, and not for me, I felt something I haven't felt since I was a kid. His jaw flexed. I felt scared, not for me, for you. And I thought, if they take her now, I will spend the rest of my life wishing I'd told her sooner. Told me what? She whispered. He held her gaze. That you're mine, he said. Her lungs forgot how to work. He didn't blink. I'm not saying it for show, he added. This isn't leverage. I'm not telling you that so I can keep you where I can see you. I'm telling you so you understand the level I'm operating on now. Dominic Vega touched my money. That's business. Dominic Vega tries to touch you. His mouth curved in something that wasn't a smile. That's war. Luca, look at me, he said. She did. His hand slid from her jaw to the side of her neck, warm, steady, claiming without hurting. He didn't pull her closer. He just held her there like he was anchoring her body to her heartbeat. "You don't go near a door without me," he said. "You don't stand by a window. You don't answer an unknown number. You don't talk to anybody alone. You're with me, or you're with Gabriel. There's no third option, do you understand?" Her pulse was hammering so hard under his palm she knew he could feel it. "You can't," she managed. "Yes," he said. "I can. That's not how my life works. That's how it works now." Her lips parted. "You think you can just walk into my life and take control like that?" "No," he said softly. "I think I already did." Her stomach dropped. Her body felt too warm, too aware, too awake. This was wrong. She knew that. She knew about lines. She had been trained on lines. Every briefing she'd ever had, on every infiltration, on every source, had always said the same thing. Don't get close. Don't get emotionally compromised. Don't start believing the target is something he isn't. She was sitting in bed with the most dangerous man in New York, and she wanted him to keep touching her. "Say it," he murmured. Her throat worked. "Say what?" "That you understand," he said quietly. "That you belong to me now." Her chest tightened. Her face felt hot. "That's not how I work," she whispered. "I don't belong to anyone." His eyes didn't leave hers. "I didn't ask how you work. I asked if you understand." Silence. Her heartbeat was so loud it almost hurt. "I understand," she finally breathed. His jaw tightened just a little. His eyes closed for a second, like he was locking that in somewhere no one else could reach. "Good girl," he said. Her whole body reacted. He felt it. Her breath stuttered again. "Luca." He leaned in, slow enough to make her feel all of it. Not yanking, not attacking, letting her feel how intentional it was. "I should not want this," she whispered. "I don't care what you should want," he said. His forehead touched hers. Just that. No kiss, no pressure, just contact, warm, solid, his breath against her mouth, his voice against her skin. "I'm going to keep you breathing," he whispered, "even if I burn half this city to do it." Her eyes stung, not from fear, from relief, from finally not having to hold it all herself. "Nobody's ever said that to me," she whispered. "I'm not nobody," he said softly. Her pulse shook under his hand. "No," she said. "You're not." Her hands moved before she could stop them. She slid them up his chest, slow, palms pressed to the heat of him through his open shirt. His body was solid under her touch. Real. He wasn't a badge. He wasn't a file. He wasn't a voice in her ear telling her to sacrifice herself in the name of protocol. He was a man. And for the first time in a very long time, she felt like a woman, not an asset. He watched her, his breathing getting heavier, deeper. "Amelia," he warned, voice rough. "What?" "If you keep touching me like that," he said quietly, "I'm not going to stop at your neck." Her cheeks flushed. "Maybe I don't want you to stop." Something in his face changed. The control, the constant held-back restraint. She actually watched it break. His hand slid to the back of her neck, guiding her closer, slow, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Her lips parted, but instead of crushing his mouth to hers, he stopped with his mouth a breath from hers, and he just held there. Her heart was going insane now. "Tell me to kiss you," he whispered. Her voice barely worked. "Luca, tell me." Before she could finish, Gabriel's voice came sharp from the hall. "Boss, we've got movement." Luca closed his eyes. Just for a second. The moment snapped. He pulled back, jaw set, hands leaving her slow like it hurt to do it. "What movement?" he called. "Harding is on the move," Gabriel said from behind the half-open door. "Vega, too. They're pushing for an emergency order. You're both getting picked up by morning if we don't do something in the next few hours." A long cold beat passed. Amelia pulled herself together first, Field mode, breathing slow, closing off how badly her body still wanted him close. "What kind of order?" she asked. "Federal custody," Gabriel said. "Preemptive detainment, citing national security." She felt it in her stomach. "That's illegal." Gabriel huffed. "So is most of what we do." Luca didn't smile. This was it. This was the real line. Either they ran, separately, and tried to survive alone, or they moved as one. "What do you want to do?" Amelia asked, turning back to Luca. He held her gaze, and in that instant, she saw it. Not the boss, not the mask, the man. This wasn't about territory anymore. This wasn't about business anymore. This wasn't even about revenge anymore. This was about her. His voice was calm when he answered. "We're not running." Gabriel stared. "Boss, we're done reacting," Luca said. "We take it to them right now. We pull Vega's operation apart. We pull Harding apart. We make it loud enough that nobody can bury it." Amelia understood instantly. "You want to make it public." "Exactly. That's dangerous," she said. "That's the point," he said. Her pulse kicked hard. "They'll come for you. They'll never stop." "They can come," he said. "They're not taking me, and they're not touching you." Something in her chest just gave up fighting. She exhaled. "Okay." Gabriel blinked. "Okay? That's it? You're just in?" Amelia turned to Luca. "You're not losing me," she said. Luca went still. Slowly, like he didn't trust his own voice, he asked, "Say that again." Her throat felt tight, but she didn't look away. "You're not losing me." And that was it. That was the moment. You could almost feel the city tilt a few degrees on its axis. Not Luca Moretti, the myth. Not Luca the headline. Luca, the man sitting on the edge of a bed at 4-something in the morning, still bleeding from glass and still ready to start a war for a woman who used to be his enemy. Something in him settled. Locked. Decided. He leaned in and pressed his mouth finally, soft and slow, to her forehead. Not her lips. Her forehead. It wasn't sexual. It was worse. It was a claim. "I'm not losing you either," he murmured against her skin. Her eyes closed. Her hands fisted in his shirt and didn't let go. Outside, somewhere in the gray edge of morning, people with badges and people with guns were already moving to try to end both of them. Inside that room, the decision had already been made. They weren't going down separate. They were going forward together. And anyone who wanted to stop it was about to find out exactly what it meant when Luca Moretti said, "She's mine." The city looked different at dawn. The storm had passed, leaving everything slick and silver. From the top floor of the warehouse, the skyline stretched out, towers still asleep, smoke curling from vents, the first pink line of light cutting through the gray. Luca Moretti stood at the window with his sleeves rolled up and his holster on the desk beside him. Behind him, Amelia Reed stirred awake on the couch, the blanket sliding from her shoulders. He turned when she spoke. "You didn't sleep." "Couldn't," he said. "Too quiet." Her smile was tired but real. "You used to crave quiet." "Not anymore." She pushed to her feet, barefoot, hair loose from its tie. In the half-light, she looked nothing like the agent who had walked into that restaurant. She looked human, warm, breakable, alive. And he knew he couldn't let her walk back into the fire. "Vega and Harding will run for it once the data goes public," she said, picking up her laptop. "The files are scheduled to upload at 8. Every outlet in the country gets a copy." He nodded. "You sure they can't trace it to you?" "I built it myself. They'll think it came from inside their own network." Luca studied her for a long moment. "You're good at this." She looked up. "You sound surprised." "I'm not. Just proud." That caught her off guard. "Proud?" He stepped closer. "Yeah. You walked into a world that eats people alive and you didn't break. You made them choke on it instead." Her breath trembled. "Luca." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "You saved my life twice. You saved my business. You saved me from turning into someone I didn't recognize anymore. I don't know what that makes us, but I know it's real." Amelia set the laptop aside. You're not that man anymore. He searched her face. And if I was? She shook her head. I'd still have told you to leave that night, but maybe for a different reason. Which one? Because I didn't want to lose you. The words hit him harder than any bullet. For a second, all the noise in his head went still. He lifted her chin with his thumb, forcing her to meet his eyes. You're not losing me, he said. Not today, not ever. Outside, car doors slammed. Gabriel's voice rose from below. Boss, news trucks, somebody leaked early. Luca's pulse snapped back into motion. He moved to the window. Dozens of reporters, flashbulbs, the world finding out in real time that the king of New York's underworld had turned on his own. Amelia's phone buzzed with incoming calls. FBI, Justice Department, every contact she'd cut ties with. She silenced it. This is it, she said quietly. They'll want statements, deals, explanations. Let them, Luca said. You did your job. You brought them down. And you? I'll disappear if I have to. She grabbed his wrist. No, you don't run, not after everything. He looked at her hand on his, small, steady, unshakable. If I stay, they'll come for me. Then we stay together. He almost laughed, disbelieving. You'd give up the bureau for me? I already did, she said. They just haven't processed the paperwork yet. Something broke loose in his chest. He took her face in both hands, searching for any sign of doubt. There wasn't any. Amelia, he whispered, this world, my world, it's ugly. I've seen worse, she said. I've seen what pretending to be clean looks like. I'll take ugly if it's honest. That finished him. He kissed her. Not the restrained, almost there kind from before. This was slow, sure, final. The kind that said everything words couldn't. Gratitude, possession, surrender, love. She rose onto her toes, hands gripping his shirt, and for the first time since either of them could remember, the world stopped demanding and just let them be. When they finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. You're mine, he said softly. She smiled, eyes shining. And you're mine. He laughed once under his breath. Never thought I'd hear those words and feel free. Guess we're both bad at following orders, she said. By noon, Vega and Harding were in custody. The files Amelia released tore through every news outlet. By evening, the system that had tried to erase them was burning itself down to stay warm. Statements were issued, denials printed, careers ended. None of it mattered. Luca and Amelia watched it unfold on a muted TV in a small apartment on the edge of the Hudson. Different safe house. Different life. She sat curled against him on the couch, his arm around her shoulders. Her laptop closed for once. What now? She asked. He looked at the window. The river glimmered gold in the last light. Now we build something that doesn't need hiding. A clean empire, she teased. He smirked. Cleaner, maybe. I'll start with legal investments. No guns, no debts. Just work. And me? You, he said, kissing her temple. You stay where you are. She smiled against his chest. I was hoping you'd say that. They sat in silence for a long time, listening to the hum of the city below. Every sound felt new. The traffic, the gulls, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat under her ear. Luca tilted his head, studying her face in the fading light. You ever think about that night? The restaurant? She asked. He nodded. All the time, she admitted. If I'd been a second slower. He stopped her with a finger against her lips. Don't. We're here. That's what matters. She kissed his fingertips softly. Still hard to believe. What? That I told a Mafia boss to leave and somehow ended up falling for him. He grinned. Correction. You saved him. Her laugh was quiet. And now? Now he spends the rest of his life proving he deserved it. She leaned in, kissing him again. Slower this time. Not the desperate kind, but the peaceful one. The kind that feels like home. Outside, the sky faded from gold to violet. The city lights flicked on one by one, reflections dancing on the water. Luca pulled her closer, his voice a low promise against her hair. "You're mine," he said. She whispered back, "I'm yours." And for once, in a world built on danger and deals, that was the only contract that mattered. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.